Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. Let's not kid ourselves, everyone. The outlook is bleak for those of us who rely on the tech news for regular sustenance. Gone are the heady days of summer when we feasted upon delectable Asus and EK scandals. RTX 5090 rumors had not yet grown stale, and Intel's zany antics still provided welcome mealtime entertainment versus just being pretty sad and depressing as it has become these days. With 2024's major launches behind us though, and 9800X3Ds stubbornly refusing to make news by routinely exploding, emitting toxic gases, or otherwise failing catastrophically, we now face a long and bitter winter without such fodder to rely upon, and so we must scrape together the crumbs and half-baked non-stories as best we can in an attempt to provide you, our loyal viewers, with a bit of new content to consume. So take pity on your local tech YouTuber, TikToker, or third variant of those two things this holiday season when you see us posting obviously exaggerated or made up bullshit, perhaps with a sprinkling of light hyperbole here and there for flavor, because we gotta eat. So on with the tech news.
Excellent!
Today's video is brought to you by Lexar's NM790 NVMe SSDs, providing lightning-fast storage for the latest generation of gaming and workstation PCs. Featuring a high-bandwidth PCIe Gen 4x4 interface, broad compatibility thanks to the M.2 form factor, and capacities up to 4 terabytes with sequential read speeds up to 7,400 megabytes per second, the NM790 makes no compromises and is conveniently available with or without an integrated heatsink. It's also a perfect pairing for Lexar's stable, reliable, and efficient Thor OC DDR5 memory kits too, so click the sponsor link in the description for more. The steady drip of NVIDIA RTX 50 series GPU rumors continued this week, and while we're probably about 2 months away from any of the cards actually launching in January, the timeline and GPU lineup seems to be crystallizing somewhat, and even more tidbits have bubbled up through the supply chain, almost as if the initial launch was supposed to happen in late 2024 but was pushed back for some reason. Per benchlife.info, there are now 7 different GPU SKUs in the works, if you include the 5090D that will likely be China specific, but the 5090, 5090D, 5080, 5070 Ti, and 5070 are all rumored to debut sometime in Q1, with the 5060 and 5060 Ti still to be confirmed, but if they do exist, they'll probably follow shortly thereafter in April. Apart from launch timeframes, more specs are being speculated about, which videocards.com was kind enough to put on a chart for quick comparison. These 5080 and 5090 rumored stats are old news by now, but the 5070 and 5070 Ti are now said to have 250 watt and 300 watt TGPs respectively, with the 5070 Ti based on the same GB203 die as the 5080, rocking 8,960 CUDA cores and 16 gigs of GDDR7 memory. The 5070 could be based on the smaller GB205 with 6,400 CUDA cores and 12 gigs of VRAM. Meanwhile, another post from Megasize GPU on Twitter says the RTX 5090's GB202 die will be 744 square millimeters, or 22% larger than the AD102 chip the RTX 4090 uses, so naturally the bigger package size has quite a few people excited. Your mom, of course, but also GPU cooling solution suppliers like Aura's, who said the RTX 50 series will seize the whole market starting in December. I think they're talking about the supply side of the chain, but even system integrators are setting up pre-orders for PCs with the still unannounced GPUs. Comino, a liquid-cooled server and workstation vendor, has a landing page set up so you can get first in line to buy a system with 8 RTX 5090s. I'm sure it will be competitively priced. But paying high prices for GPUs, next gen or last gen, seems to be our only option these days, as even without a 50 series launch, the RTX 40 series stock is drying up and prices are starting to increase as a result. The RTX 4090, for example, was $1,800 a month or so back, but now the cheapest model is just shy of $2,000. Or it was until this Gigabyte one popped up. Never mind, it's out of stock. Speaking of overpriced PC hardware, if you want a 9800X3D to go with your $2,000 RTX 4090, you'll probably still have a tough time finding one for the $480 MSRP. Stock has been coming in occasionally for those who have been diligently camping product pages, so try to stay patient. On the bright side though, to follow up on last week's story, no further incidences of 9800X3Ds burning up in their CPU socket have been reported, aside from the original 2 that were pretty clearly caused by user error during installation. AMD's CPU offerings in general are clearly dominating the market though. If Amazon's bestseller list is any indication, all 10 spots are held by Ryzen processors, with the 9800X3D up at the top, and Intel only managing to come in at 11th place with the Core i7-13700K. If you are looking at CPUs on Amazon and you see a screaming deal on a supposed $200 Ryzen 9800X3D though, pump your brakes, because it's a scam, as reported by Tom's Hardware, and that little part of your brain that sometimes gives you good advice about these common sense type scenarios. Fortunately, Amazon does seem to be removing these types of listings fairly quickly. None are pulling up as I am taking a look right now, but with the holiday shopping rush in full swing, there will likely be more of them popping up as Black Friday approaches. If you really are in the market to buy a new CPU though, definitely check out my video from earlier this week where I talked about all the best CPUs to buy right now at various price points. There's a GPU one too that went up last week. I'll link both of those down in the video's description because I hope that you guys get what you want for Christmas. Speaking of holiday shopping, I have a lot of that still to do, so let's move on to tech briefs for maximum efficiency. Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 launched this week, but prospective pilots were left frustrated by the game being too popular, far exceeding the 200,000 users Microsoft had load tested for, which caused the game service as a whole to crash multiple times. Microsoft decided to reduce the client-side install size by streaming assets from their centralized servers during gameplay, but with so many users accessing it, their mission service database cache became saturated, and many gamers experienced extremely long load times, if they were able to even play the game at all. Jay's 2 Cents took a test run of the game on Wednesday and encountered all of these problems, as well as getting only about a 30 FPS frame rate running the game at 1440 Ultra with his 7800X3D and RTX 4090 test system. So Flight Simulator fans are advised to give the game some time to be updated and for those server loads to be balanced. Remember back when they did that stuff before launching a game? No? Me neither. Speaking of rocky launches, the OG Steam controller never quite gained the popularity needed for mainstream use or acceptance, but it still had a lot of fans in the PC community. So those fans might be excited to hear that the long discontinued gaming controller has a sequel in the works, according to Valve leaker Brad Lynch on Twitter. And it's supposedly already being tooled for mass production, which likely means it's not just a product they're developing that may or may not make it to market. We will probably get the Steam controller too sometime in 2025, if this is true. So Valve really just needs to work on the user experience and profile system to make it a bit more straightforward to set up out of the box. In the meantime, I'll dust off my Steam controller so it can be added to the display at the Smithsonian. You might have seen this throwback case design on April Fool's last year, or earlier this week. It's a Silverstone FLP01, which was originally a 2023 April Fool's joke meant to poke some fun at older PC case designs from the 80s and 90s. Turns out the nostalgia is real though, and enough people were enamored with the design that Silverstone went ahead and mass-produced the thing. The floppy drives as covers for optical drives, which are becoming pretty aged themselves, and USB and front panel I/O is a great touch. It will go up for sale in early 2025 and will cost you about $130 US. Now you just need to find a massive 90-pound 19-inch CRT monitor to set up on top of it, and you can fire up Myst and party like it's 1995. Finally, if you don't have a cat on top of your PC, you can now put a cat into your PC, or a cat theme at least, which PC builders have been asking for ever since I can remember. Colorful has blessed the world with the introduction of their Colorfire B650M MEOW motherboard, which fully supports the latest Ryzen 9000 series CPUs. And yes, there's an Intel version as well, for sadists I suppose, with the Colorfire B760M MEOW. If you're not delighted by the white, black, and orange color scheme, the cute cartoon cats, or the Cats Rule the World branding, surely the corresponding cat-themed BIOS screen will melt your heart while also allowing you to enable XMP or Expo settings. I hope they have a matching cat-themed RTX 5090 planned for next year too, because I don't know what other GPU would be worthy to slot into such a fabulous motherboard. In closing, I would just like to remind you guys that our awesome hardware charity livestream will be taking place on Saturday, December 14th, and I'd also like to say Happy Thanksgiving to my friends here in the US, and Happy Thanksgiving to my friends around the world as well. We're thankful for you whether you like it or not. But there you have it guys, tech news for the weekend. If you liked it, click that like button or leave me a comment down below. While you're down there, all of the articles I talked about today are linked in the video's description if you're interested, and there is my end of the year holiday sale going on at my store at paulshardware.net, where you can buy high quality merchandise, t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. Subscribing to my channel is always a good call too. Thanks again everyone, and we'll see you next week.